Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
We are going to talk about this Redfin article that says that there is the most real estate that has ever been on the market is a amount of dollar value. And this is the headline of the article. U.S. home sellers are sitting on nearly 700 billion worth of listings, an all-time high. You have to imagine Dr. Evil saying 700 billion.
But you have to say it like
Grew billion.
No.
This is actually an article from one of the largest crash bros in the country, Redfin.com. Okay, we are going to talk about this because this is not what it appears to be, and we're going to expose what this really means. Because when you see that, I guarantee you, somebody saw this and said, "Oh my gosh," they'll tell their friend. What's that game? And that game you play as a kid where like you sit in a circle and you whisper something in somebody's ear.
Telephone.
And what happens when it gets to the end?
The story does not resemble the story that started.
And why is that?
Because every time somebody retells a story, they change part of it, whether it's on purpose or just through something lost in translation.
So that's the key is when you see a headline, you see something, you tell somebody, and then somebody else tells that it gets either embellished or they put their spin on it or whatever, and it ends up being completely different. Sort of how rumors get out of control. So what they did here, and we'll put this first chart up, they, instead of taking total number of houses, okay, so forget how many people we have in the U.S., how many houses we have in the U.S., how many houses on the market, they decide to do a chart with the value of all the homes. Now, according to this, there are like tons more, like we have like twice as many homes on the market as we had back in 2012. Because back in 2012, we only had about 350 billion. Now we have 700 billion.
Right. Well, also in 2012, remember, home prices had dropped. So because home prices had dropped, that also reduced the amount of value.
Is it possible, Juana, that we actually had more houses on the market in 2012 than today, but they were just worth less money?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you're talking about number of units, that is not only possible, it's likely.
Right. Okay. Now, what else is interesting about this chart is, because home prices have not fallen since 2012. But if you look at this chart, it looks like from 2019 to 2022, home prices fell. But they didn't fall because what this represents is the value of homes listed in MLSs. And even though the homes were more money, there was less of them because there was this scarcity. People were buying all the houses up.
Right.
So this was the first bullet point of the article.
Mm-hmm. Housing
supply is at a 5-year high. Juana, they just told us that this was the highest number of value of homes ever in the history since dinosaurs roamed the earth. How could it only be at a 5-year high? They just showed us a chart where it was more than any year since 2012.
Well, that serves their purpose because what that is meant to lead you to believe that this is an all-time high, not a 5-year high. When the truth of it is that we had more inventory in 2017, 2018, 2019, as far as number of units on the market.
So we're going to show you that chart in a second. What's really funny is the bottom last sentence here. New listings increased 8.6 to a 3-year high. So new listings, which I guess are the last month or whatever, are only the highest they've been since 2020 in the last 3 years, which meant there were more, that we have less new listings than 2021, 2020, and all those years before that. Mm-hmm. This is another one that got my attention because we got a chart on this. Homes are sitting on the market longer. The typical home sold in April took 40 days. Juana, 40 people have probably they probably got foreclosed because they couldn't wait any longer. Who waits 40? Normally when your house goes in the MLS, it sells the next day, you get $2 million and you move to Hawaii.
Well, the flood took 40 days, selling a house takes 40 days. The earth is remade in 40 days.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And then this was the very next bullet point. Home prices are rising. So now what they're leading you to believe is that we have the most inventory we've ever had and home prices are going up. Like none of these things would make sense economically if this was actually happening. It says the median U.S. home sale price rose 1.4% year over year in April. And the value of inventory is up by much more, 20.3% year over year, which signals that in recent years, the rising number of listings is a bigger factor, the total value of inventory, but they never show you the chart. Mm-hmm. Okay? Now, what's funny is this is the first chart they show you. 44% of listings are sitting on the market for 60 plus days. So when you look at this chart is all the way back to 2018. So it's the last 7 years. Mm-hmm. If I showed you this chart one and you looked at this, would you think that, oh my gosh, something terrible has happened? Like this is completely, like all the other years it did this exact same thing, they were fine. But this year it's the worst one. And it's actually basically in line with the last, except for the 2 ridiculous years where we had, homes sold in, a week or something like that. Mm-hmm. But this is pretty normal, right? Homes sitting, you've been doing this for 25 years.
Hey, watch it.
Since you were 8 years old.
Okay.
And my first listing, I think it took 4 months before we got it sold. Mm-hmm. So it's not unusual that a house would sit on the market for 45 days or whatever. That ridiculous. Okay. So what we did was one actually found this chart, and this is the chart for the total number of listings that are actually, this is numbers of houses. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, you see the little color codes on the top. The white line is 2025. The colored lines, red, orange, yellow, blue, green, are all the previous years. Now, remember, the previous years were relatively hot years. Mm-hmm. Probably the hottest years we've ever seen in real estate. Probably, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And I'm talking ever. Mm-hmm. Like never, ever, ever was a real estate market this hot. But then you see these 3 lines right above it because they just grabbed 2017, 18, 19. Now remember, the amount of listings in the MLS 2017, 18, 19 were actually less than the previous years. There were more those years. And what we show is that we still have less homes in June of 2025 than we did in 2017, 18, 19. Wanda, do you remember all the news articles those years about how there were way too many homes on the market and the housing market was going to crash?
Well, that and shadow inventory and all kinds of other things going on. The point of this is that we can all agree in 2017, 18, 19, there were less existing homes, less standing structures of single-family homes than there are today, right? Because homes have been built in the meantime. So if there were less homes possible, and yet the inventory we have today is less than that, and we can all agree that our population is greater today than it was then, well, what does that lead you to believe? Well, it leads you to believe that we have an inventory shortage. And we see that in all kinds of ways, right? We see it because the numbers of homes that are available for sale are less than what we need to accommodate everyone. We see that in all sorts of government policy that is encouraging home building, is encouraging building additions, building all kinds of second units on properties. We see governments trying to incentivize the conversion of other space into residential space. So we see all that, and that's happening because they've identified that we are short a number of millions of homes. Whether you agree with one statistic that says it's 5 million homes or 7 million homes, whatever that is, but they all agree that we're short homes. Now, if we're short homes, then how is it that we have an oversupply of homes?
So in the last, call it 8 years since 2017, we've added about 6 million houses. Like Wanda said, we have less houses. We had less houses in 2017 we did today total, but we had more on the market back then. It should be the other way around. We should have more houses. Matter of fact, every year there should be more houses than the previous year because there are more houses to sell.
There are more houses to sell and there are more people to house.
If you had told me in 2019 that the next 5 years would look like this, I would have probably bought every house I could get my hands on because I would have said, what is going on? Like, why is this possible? This should not be happening. And we can put this into more perspective. You remember that little housing crash? If you go back to 2006, where 4 million was the total number of houses on the market. So you see where it says 1,000 and then 1,400, right? Because remember, the bottom of this isn't 0, it's 200. So it's 200,000. You would have to go literally all the way to the top of the screen, double it, and then go another 50% more to get to the number of houses there were when housing market effectively crashed, which was
About 2008.
it started 2000. In 2008, it was already going down, but inventory had built up by 2006 was actually the peak of the inventory. And so this is, the reason why we're showing you this is because this sort of puts it in perspective. Now, what the Crash Bros say, Juan, is, but Todd, you got to add in. So what Redfin did is they went and made this chart, but then they added in all the homes that were new homes. But then if you do that, you have to add that into all the other years.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning you can't just go, oh, this is existing homes and MLSs, and then go, oh, but look, whoosh, we're going to add in the new homes. It's actually 1.8 million because in 2008 there were 1.7 million new homes on top of the 400 million that were in MLSs. There were actually 5.7 million. And if you took all these other years, 2017, 18, 19, there were tons of homes on the market, you would still be below those numbers. So the big Crash Bro Redfin trying to be tricky here and talk about the value and then show a chart with value. People see that and they don't understand. They just go, oh my God, there's too many homes on the market. Nobody's buying homes.
Or I don't want to put my home on the market because there are too many homes on the market.
I'm not going to sell my house for too many homes on the market.
Right.
Right.
Okay, any other charts?
No.
Okay, that was fun. Hope you enjoyed the chart. Hope you enjoyed our rant about Crash Bros and the CV information.
I always enjoy it.
I know, and they do too. Please remember to like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share the video, leave us your real estate related comments, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.